Time now for our rants and raves of the week, and I'm going to start with you, Tom.
Seems so insignificant in relation
no, not
to
a good one, actually.
There was a discussion here a couple of weeks ago. Dante Ramos brought up the idea, the World Press Photography Awards. They were initially embarrassed because 20% of the entries there, it turned out that the photographs that were entered were in some ways doctored. It was not reality. Well, now, this past week, they actually had to withdraw the first prize because, as it turned out, the photographer, an Italian photographer, series of 10 photographs, and most of them were clearly staged, including one where he followed his cousin to go to a parking lot somewhere in Belgium and photograph his cousin having sex with someone in the back seat of a car with floodlights inside the car, clearly staged. Absolutely humiliating to the World Press Photography Association, and I think it clearly shows that somewhere along the line the ethical constraints that photojournalism have put in place are either they have shifted or they're under attack.
Well, maybe they should just drop those regulations, the same with drugs and baseball.
Oh, I hope not.
All right, Dan.
I have a rave for the Pew Research Center, which this week released a report called Local News in a Digital Age. And it's a long report. Frankly, a lot of the findings in it are kind of obvious, but there was a fascinating section on race and ethnicity in which they found that the Latino residents of Denver and the African-American residents of Macon, Georgia, these were two cities they looked at that had significant minority populations, were actually more interested in local news than the white majority were, or the white population, and by some measures more civically engaged than whites. And now, from a news organization's point of view, and this is universal, it isn't just for Denver or Macon, you got to take a look at this and say, these are our best customers, or these are potentially our best customers. Every news organization ought to be asking themselves right now, how are we serving these communities of color, and what are the opportunities that are there?
And how come, they don't look like me, on TV?
The other great takeaway in that report was how reliant everyone still was on television and newspapers. That the digital startups were interesting, but they were not where people were getting their news.
All right, Josh, what do you got?
I have sort of an anticipatory rave for on Monday when Apple is going to finally unveil and announce when they're going to put on sale the Apple Watch. It's on one hand another gadget, another piece of technology, but what I'm really most excited about is on Monday we're going to see how some news organizations are planning on delivering news to these devices. Think about the push notifications and the alerts that you get to your phone. Think about the ability to have this personalized device on your watch that has the ability to send news at the times when you're ready to take it in, the kinds of things that you're most interested in, the things that are important in the moment. It's an area that has a lot of potential. Who knows if this is going to really...
How much are they?
They are $350 is the starting price. So they'll come down with time. But I just think back to how much of an impact the iPhone had, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. We're in that period right before then. It may not be the same scale, but it's a pretty important moment.
All right, Kelly.
I need a widescreen, so I'm not getting it. All right, so I have a rant about this study. It's a report called Who Retweets Whom? How Digital and Legacy Journalists Interact on Twitter. Now, this is part and parcel of my ongoing theme about too much internal cliquishness among journalists, particularly journalists of some note. So they looked at reporters at the New York Times. They also looked at reporters who are native digitally to see, do they retweet each other? Not much crossing over between legacy journalists and the folks who are in digital. They retweet in their own groups. But most importantly, disturbing to me, is that the legacy folks retweet their other friends. So their circles are very small. Get out of your circles, people. If you're going to retweet something, see what else is out there. Who else is commenting that might add a nuance, some other context that you don't know of. I know why people do it. If I know Josh, well, I'll retweet him. I know pretty know what he's going to write is going to be good. But goodness gracious, somebody else might have something to say about it other than Josh. And I think it's about time to push past it. It annoys me.
Though, right?
I will, okay.
Speaking of tweeting, I have a rave for Curt Schilling for taking on
Me
the
too.
media
Yes.
trolls. I mean, isn't this everybody's fantasy? If everybody doesn't know the story, he tweeted out about his daughter going to Salve Regina in Rhode Island. She's got a baseball scholarship, softball, and the trolls came out and said things that were so horrible and ugly they couldn't even reprint them or repeat them. He tracked down at least 2 of them. Both of them lost their jobs, but I think that's the satisfaction. It's like revenge is a sweet thing, and it's like he got it, and it's like, go for it.
Well, it gets cyberbullying too, and don't forget
Cyberbullying.
that it also raised the question again of what happens to women online.
Yes, it was revolting.
So, yeah, right.
All right, well, that is our show. Tell us what you think. At this point, should we just call Tsarnaev the bomber? Is the Apple Watch the future of media? Weigh in on our website, beatthepress.org. You can also catch up on past episodes or watch any of this show you may have missed.